Assalamu Alaikum, sister. Thank you for writing to our live session. As I understand your situation, you're currently participating in sports. Your parents want you to finish this semester, I think it is, of sports, but you do not want to because it involves free mixing and not the proper modest clothes. You have discussed this with them, but they still force you to go. So, sister, my question is this, right? If you're uncomfortable with the clothing that you're wearing, is there any way that you could wear other clothing that is more modest? I have seen a lot of different Muslim girls playing in sports, and they are able to wear clothes that are more modest to cover their bodies. So I'm just wondering if this is an option for you. If so, you might want to discuss this with your parents to be able to provide you with more modest clothing. As far as the mixing, I guess you could look at that as, if you're in school, I don't know if you're in classes where there's both boys and girls, or if you're in an all-girls school. Additionally, if you go to school events or if you go to, say, the mall or other places where there's mixing, you could view it like that, as long as it's not, mixing where there's very close contact and you're forced to, interact with people, and so forth. You may want to write our section called Ask the Scholars, and they might be able to provide a more Islamic answer for you. I am not an Islamic scholar, so you might want to check with them. But that's my feeling on that issue, is that in everyday life we kind of like mix with other people, but as long as we don't have haram mixing, like touching and talking and hanging out and things like that, inshallah, it's not sinful. But please do check with our Ask the Scholar section. As far as the clothing, getting back to that, that shouldn't be a problem to implement modest clothing. That shouldn't be a problem at all. And in fact, that should be something that your parents may be happy to provide for you, right? And if you need, extra supports in discussing that with them, you could always, go to the Quran and show them, where Muslim girls are supposed to dress modestly. And they can't argue with the Quran, right? At any rate, it seems like this section of the sports will be over soon, so you won't have to continue doing this if you don't want to, inshallah. But moving forward, if it's something that you enjoy and it's something that you want to do, there are options. I mean, you can dress more modestly the next time, so you'll be comfortable. You can choose to join only all girl teams, which I believe you are on only an all women team, but the visitors and such are non-mahram men, and there's really nothing you can do about that. And you may come across that in a lot of different situations in life, say for graduation. Like if you graduate, like you cannot control who's going to be in the crowd, who's going to be in the audience, etc. But you can be mindful of your own stance, and you can be mindful of your own actions. And you can keep your separate distance, and inshallah still feel comfortable. So in short, there's a couple different things you can do, and there's a couple different perspectives that while you are in school and you are a young lady growing up, you will come across these situations, and so it's best early on to learn how to handle them. Of course, you should not be forced to participate in sports with men, or participate in events like, say, a closed event, or a graduation, say at a hall or at a community center where everybody's freely mixing. Oftentimes in those situations, men will sit on one side of the room and women on the other. and that's perfectly acceptable. However, there will be certain circumstances where that will not be possible, right? And it's kind of like the same thing. Like if you take a plane somewhere, you take a flight, you might have your seat next to your mom and dad, but maybe on the side of you or behind you, there's men, right? So in these situations, we just have to pray, and we just have to know that Allah knows what's in our hearts, right? He knows our intent, our niyyah, and we are judged upon by that as well. So with that said, sister, please do ask your parents about the more modest clothing, and practice your right to keep your distance from men whom you're not related to, and boys, and try to enjoy the rest of the seasons of the sports, because I'm sure you're very good at it. And also, I did notice your question below regarding another issue. Um, and I think, inshallah, by doing things you enjoy, practicing sports, or maybe, reading, studying, or doing something creative, whatever you'll enjoy doing, by filling your time up with that, will bring you happiness, inshallah, and will get your mind off of things that are hurting you and bothering you. But on the same token, you want to address the things that are hurting you and bothering you. So I kindly suggest that, yes, you do speak with your mom, or if you have a sister that you're close with, about how you're feeling, just so you have somebody that you trust and that you can confide in and talk about, the things that you're going through and how you're feeling. We wish you the best.